Yes. Okay, good. I was in high school and one kid said something to me that got me really upset. So I went home and I was complaining about that kid with my 5-year older brother. And he told me something I won't forget. That kid didn't upset you. You got upset yourself. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control how to react to that. That was actually my first memory of learning emotional intelligence. Hi, I'm Dalila Chavez. I was born and raised in Mexico in a small town in the state of Jalisco, the state of origin of tequila and mariachis. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, but never really worked in the area. I've been with Celanese 13 years, and I've been working in different areas, finance, HR, sales, for different of the divisions for Celanese, and most likely as project manager supporting the mergers and acquisitions integrations project, and now IT-related projects. 8 years ago, when I was transferred to the Dallas offices to cover my first position in sales, I was 30 years old. I was new in sales, new in this country, and my customers were 90% male and with over 30 years of experience in the chemical industry. I have to say that I wasn't handling stress so well, and I would end up crying in the bathroom more than once a day. This was a big signal for me to learn more about emotional intelligence, or EQ, emotional quotient. But why it is so important? There is no connection between IQ and EQ. You cannot really predict emotional intelligence based on how smart someone is. Students who are able to understand and manage their emotions get better grades than classmates who are less emotionally aware. Emotional intelligence is a stronger predictor of performance. 90% of the top performers actually score very high in EQ. IQ, or cognitive skills like verbal comprehension, memory, reasoning, processing speed, that only makes up 20% of the factors that determine life success. In order to be successful, IQ should be rounded out with social emotional skills like motivation, perseverance, impulse control, coping mechanisms, and the ability to delay gratification, something really hard in these days when everything's at the speed of a click. But let's define emotional intelligence. EI, or EQ, is the ability to monitor one's own and others people's emotions, to discriminate between different emotions and label them appropriately, using that emotional information to guide thinking and behavior. As you can see in this definition, EQ has two big components, the self and the social. And within these two components, there are two big areas, awareness and regulation. EQ learning starts from the beginning of our lives. Babies learning how to recognize the facial expression of emotions of their moms. Pre-Ks should learn how to describe the emotions and empathize with others' emotions as well. Really hard, I have to say, having 2 toddlers at home. Later on, the learning moves on how to be a good community member. So middle graders start participating in volunteer activities that helps them learn that they are part of something larger than themselves. When we understand another people's feelings and who they are, it's really hard to be hurtful to them. So the bullying decreases as a result. Now let's jump into what science says about emotions. Stimulus enter through a spinal cord, and has to travel to our prefrontal cortex so we are able to reason the information. But first need to travel through the limbic system, who is actually in charge of our emotions. The limbic system is a collection of brain structures like the amygdala, the hypothalamus, hippocampus, pituitary gland, and some other. When we're exposed to a fearful or threatening stimulus, information is immediately sent to the amygdala, which then signals the hypothalamus, who triggers a fight or flight response system. And then the hypothalamus tells the pituitary gland to produce hormones, as adrenaline and cortisol, causing increased heartbeat and the respiration increasing. Just getting us ready for action or reaction to something threatening, right? And all of this happens in 1/3 of the time that it takes information to travel to the rational brain. No wonder why we are so often react before thinking. This is a survival mechanism, and it is needed if we need to quickly react to a threat, but not so good when we need to have a conversation or manage conflict, isn't it? 15 years ago, my mom suffered of a brain aneurysm rupture, causing her brain to bleed and required surgery. She was fortunate to survive the event, but as a part of her brain was lost. This affected full mobility of her right side and completely her speech. She went through daily speech and physical therapy for months. This forced her brain to make new connections, and she was able to recover almost full movement and a very high percentage of her speaking. All of this was thanks to the plasticity of the brain, which is the ability of the brain to modify its connections or rewire itself. This characteristic of the brain is what will allow us to create connections between our rational and our emotional brain. So, if you ask if we can improve our emotional intelligence, the answer is yes. We can increase it by applying different strategies and tools and make those millions of neurons to create the roads between the rational and the emotional centers of our brain. So put your brain to exercise, because once you train your brain, emotional intelligent decisions will just come easier. Now let's jump into some of the competencies or skills that we need to learn to improve our emotional skills. Self-awareness is knowing what we feel in the moment and using that to guide our decision-making. Having a realistic assessment of our own abilities is something we should invest time and effort. Practice mindfulness. Define your priorities. That will help you make better decisions and to have faster decisions. Find trusted friends and a mentor that provides you with constructive feedback. Work in your self-confidence and make sure you set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant. Then let's work in our self-regulation, handling our emotions so that they facilitate rather than interfere, delaying gratification to pursue goals, recovering well from emotional distress, and we can do that just by breathing and by being grateful. So imagine that you're driving and then someone almost hits you and then you need to react, and that's actually the amygdala with all of this fear sending the signals. Then you get all of these hormones that create your heart rate and make you react. So you react fast and you get out of that without a scratch. You have two ways there. One, just to keep nervous and thinking, what if they would have hit me? I wouldn't make it to the meeting. What about my kids, my family? And then you're just increasing and escalating your heart rate and your issues and your thinking, and the brain doesn't know that you're actually only thinking. The brain just keeps creating the hormones as it's actually true. But what if instead of doing that, you just breathe and think, I'm so grateful I was able to react and I'm safe. Just gratefulness helps you to reduce your heart rate. Be grateful. When you're starting to feel, if now you are having events, you're starting you're getting into an exam and your heart rate is increasing, just close your eyes, breathe, and think, I'm so grateful that I'm able to study. I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity, and I'm so grateful to be here. And that will help you feel more happy and to actually have your stress lowering down. That will help you actually de-escalate your emotions. Be congruent with your values, but maintain that needed flexibility so you can keep improving and learning. So the next step is the self-motivation. That is that force that drives you to do things. This needs to come from within. You don't need that from outside. Be always honest to yourself and take a good care of your body. Get out of your comfort zone. If you stretch it every day, very quickly you'll have a larger comfort zone and be able to feel more comfortable even when outside of it. Confront your imposter syndrome. This is a mental bug that convinces you that your accomplishments don't really count and that you are going to be found out as a fraud at some point. Have you felt that? It's easier to remember our fails than our wins. That is just human nature. So make a habit of reflecting on times that you've done things well and write them down in your journal. It's easier to be confident in your abilities when you remember them. Make sure you join tomorrow's session at 1, I think, with Carmen Chu. She'll talk a little bit more about imposter syndrome. Now let's move to the social. Social awareness is sensing what people are feeling, being able to take their perspective and cultivate relationships. You will notice that by working in some of the self-competencies and skills, empathy will come easier. And by practicing self-awareness, you'll become more observant of your workplace dynamic, and this will actually help you possess a level of organizational awareness, and which is a part of the emotional intelligence skills. By understanding our feelings, we can better anticipate and recognize others' needs. Let's be inspirational leaders by spreading positiveness to those around us and by helping others to grow. This will lead you to handle emotions and relationships well and be skilled to read social situations. So invest time and effort in learning conflict management, collaboration, teamwork, leadership, true leadership. EQ is the best self-empowerment tool. So put your brain to work and don't let your amygdala take control over your life. Emotions are contagious. Spread emotional intelligence. Imagine a world where every single one of us were equipped with the needed tools to be able to manage any fear every moment, to really take control of our emotions. Not because we don't want to feel them, but because by dealing with them well, we grow and we learn from them. That is a world of emotional intelligence, and we can create it together. Thank you. So I really hope that this talk is helping you. I have to say that I'm really excited about being here today. I mean, you girls are doing amazing. This event is it's something that will help you grow. But I have to say that, as I mentioned in the previous slide, The best empowerment tool, self-empowerment tool, is emotional intelligence. So you need to practice every day. Start small. Start thinking, start feeling your feelings, start feeling your emotions, your breath. Start smelling better the air. Quit your phones, leave them there, and be more present with the people around you. That will help you. And then start just increasing one skill and one competency from the ones that I share, one every couple of weeks, and then you just become an expert on it, and you'll notice that you'll be happier. And yes, I see some of the comments, and yet, I mean, your emotions take over your emotions. But as I say, usually when you have an emotion, it's just that fear, and it's that amygdala that if you don't learn how to control it, it would just take over your whole life. So just take control of that. And if you're feeling something, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Why is that comment made me upset? And then just start asking why. Write it down. Okay, today I felt angry about this or that. Today I felt anxious about this situation. And then start asking yourself why. And probably you're going to get into a past trauma, and that's something you need to work. And it's good to seek professional advice. So don't think that's a waste. That is one of the best investments in yourself. So I will open up. Is there any comment, any question? Any experience? I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation. And I think it's tomorrow 1:30. Carmen Shu has this presentation about, that kind of follows this a little bit, and just make sure that you attend it. Thank you so much for joining.